Greetings. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. This is a brief post today to focus on the fact that it's the 23rd of October, 2019, and Tesla just came out with earnings. We decided to do our brief for us 10-minute show in order to introduce you to the fact that the stock was up $28 after earnings were announced. So we're still an hour away from Elon coming on and doing a description of what's going on in terms of future. But the first numbers we're seeing suggest that Tesla's in a great position right now, because as soon as the numbers are known on what China is going to do, I think those numbers could be pushed even higher. So first of all, this is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is the first time on our channel, please take time to like and subscribe. And if you've been on for a while, please support us on Patreon. We just wanted to blast out to you guys on what may not be the greatest video shoot, just to make sure we sort of caught the vapors of the moment, because it's great to see Tesla finally have a breakthrough on numbers, which there are a lot of things that suggested previously. So we just want to cover 3 or 4 quick points. The first point is that the numbers were anticipated based on the fact that you could extrapolate the number of vehicles, 97,000 times 50, let's call it $57,000 per vehicle on average, and that would give you an anticipation of what the revenue number was. But then there is a question of expenses, particularly related to vehicles that are in development but not sold. So the process we're in right now is that number one, we're confirming that the numbers are good. I think that's clear based on the pop in the stock price. Then the number 2 point that has to be addressed is what's going to happen with the future guidance that Tesla might have. And we think with China coming on, the guidance is actually going to be excellent. So those are 2 legs. As Josh just articulated, the third issue that's coming on is something called a short squeeze. Tesla is one of the most shorted stocks in the stock market, and one of the things that's going to happen over the next day or two is, if the guidance is consistent with what the stock price has done, we're going to actually see a further push on the stock price, because there are a lot of people that shorted the stock who are going to have to change their position or go bankrupt. Close out the position, meaning buy the stock, which actually forces the stock even higher. So we think this is going to be interesting to watch how this plays out. One of the lurking questions, and I think this is kind of interesting, is that in the last quarter, Tesla announced some very large cash holdings at $5 billion. While profits from new vehicles have not been as strong as they should be if the vehicles were being sold, it looks like the deposits for those vehicles are actually very strong, resulting in Tesla generating a very strong cash position. So what we're looking forward to then is Elon affirming what's going to be happening in terms of the execution of the Chinese production. And then we're also looking forward to what his anticipated delivery run is for new vehicles, especially the Model Y. So there's a lot of numbers to be noting. Boris just noted that the stock is at $295 a share right now. It closed in the $255 range. So this is a classic sense of the short squeeze in terms of what could happen. What we see happening from here is, I think the stock goes perhaps higher by another $10 or $15. And then, as soon as some of the companies that have been squeezed by the short are sufficiently sort of damaged, we expect there to be a sort of a little bit of a plateau by $5 or $10. We also wanted to note that one of the problems when the stock moves this quickly is the largest institutional holders don't have a chance to buy into the stock price. So we think that, it's at $295 currently. Let's say it gets into the $310, $315 zone. And then what'll happen is, on any kind of a pullback over the next 3 or 4 days, we expect to see the institutions now having an opportunity to buy post earnings, and therefore give an opportunity for the stock to rise even further. So we wanted to say congratulations to Tesla, all employees, congratulations to owners who own the stock, etc., because obviously this is all good news, and it puts the company on better financial footing relative to the future. I guess the only thing that has not been answered that we're extremely looking forward to is the timetable and numbers associated with China. And obviously, it's coming on currently, and so is Model Y. Boris, thanks for the 30170 note. Dave, thanks for the 305 note. Clearly, stock price is booming north. Again, congratulations to those of you who are able to get in. I thought that our Bob Lutz capitulation show was a sign of what might happen. So those of you who are owners, we congratulate you on successfully navigating these waters. And sort of the next stage, we think, is a little bit further push of the stock price up, heading into the open tomorrow, and then a day away from perhaps a 10 to 15 point decline, because there are some short squeezed entities that really need to take, they need to buy a lot of stock. It's going to force the price higher, but once they're done being squeezed, we expect that the stock to take a bit of a breather. And the next in the timetable that we've discussed previously that we're expecting is what'll happen is analysts will actually use the conference call and the numbers to actually write a report. That report will be distributed to investors, like large institutions, over the next 48 hours. Over the next 4 business days, those institutions will then be making buying decisions based on the reports the analysts have presented. And we think those reports are going to be great. So our expectation is there's going to be a pullback about 10 to 15 points below where we're at now. And then we expect the large institutions to come in and buy in force, particularly as all the news about how China is going to execute is demonstrated. Wow. So at any rate, this is a very interesting situation. There's another thing that is going to be answered over the next couple of weeks, and that is that there's been a lot of naysayers about Tesla going bankrupt and all these other issues, and clearly that has not occurred. What we're fascinated by then is there's a whole bunch of folks who are on the call side or upside for Tesla, and there are a bunch of folks who are on the downside or negative side for Tesla. And it's a funny situation right now because both sides had plenty of data to support their arguments, and we're now seeing the stock price to reflect that. The next shoe to drop, we think, is that if in fact we do have a situation where the amount of vehicles that are coming out of China are of a decent number, we're going to end up in a situation where those anticipated revenue and earnings are going to give further credence for the stock price to push even higher. So stay tuned. I think this is a terrific day for Tesla and everybody who likes the stock and company and wants to see it doing well. We're among those folks, and so we're hopeful that there's a lot of sort of good news that backs up what we're already seeing. So I'd say keep your fingers crossed, because the conference call will really put guidance to the numbers that we've seen, and we think those are going to be good to great, and I think that's going to push the stock price further. So just wanted to encourage those of you who are owners to hang on for a bit. I want to say wait and see what the institutions do next week, because once they have an opportunity to buy after the initial rush of the hedge funds battling each other, it's going to be very interesting. Well, interestingly, we did sort of break our say hello at the end of the show rule here, because it is a very brief show in order to sort of capture the news of the earnings. And we wanted to thank all of you for joining us. We also like the idea of optimizing the value of your time. So we really look forward to you guys sharing your post-show comments so that we can also go back and forth. Wanted to also note that we had a conversation in our last show about finding shares of SpaceX before the IPO. If you're serious about doing so, please send us a private message, Tesla Fan Insight, on Facebook, because we need to qualify you and make sure you're a qualified investor before we make it available, our access to pre-IPO shares. So again, if you're interested in SpaceX stock pre-IPO, please let us know, and we can sort of respond to you via Facebook initially with an email address, and then move forward with that conversation. At any rate, look forward to any and all of your comments. Please remember to like and subscribe. Also wanted to encourage you to support on Patreon. Wow. Any rate, don't forget, don't go to bed within 2 hours of eating, preferably 4 to let it digest. We also encourage you to do 25 leg lifts per leg. Make sure there's no issues with knee issues as you age. And I wanted to say tschüss, German, au revoir, French, lehitrot, Hebrew, choda hafez, Farsi, hejdu, Sweden, ni hao ma, Chinese, zdravstvuyte, Russian, do videnia, from our Serbian friend, and Vladimir. And thanks for joining us on this brief show. I agree that it's a little choppy in terms of our usual camera and mic control, but it was kind of an emergency show situation, and we appreciate your indulgence. Have a great day, and bye for now. Thanks for the comment, Josh. Bye.